Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Marcus. I am a professional miniature painter, and today we are putting AK's new line, the Quick Paints, to the ultimate test by slapping them on 40 Space Marines like it's the Horus Heresy all over again. I'm not sure if I'm brave or just deeply unwell. So let's start with the first impression and the overall packaging. And I saw some development in the packaging from AK. I really love the third generational small packages, but this time I got a bigger package. So it seems like they're coming in a variety of sizes. For me, I got the 72 quick paint set, including one flat brush and one round brush. That are really nice to apply those quick paints from AK. So let's talk some basics. Obviously, they're coming in dropper bottles like most of the paint. They're 18 ml in dropper bottles, which is very common for most of the brands at the moment. So you can compare it very well with the other brands. On the other hand, there is a red cap, which separates it very nice from the other third generation AK paints. On the other hand, it is very hard to do the dropping paint into that little mold thing that most people do to see what paint is in the bottle at the end. That's a little bummer. So I think in my opinion, the perfect solution would be obviously like a little white dot in the middle so you can put the paint in. But of course, this is probably just a price thing. And overall, that bottles are standard, but we like it. So that's a plus for me. So of course, there are no high-end inks, but that's not what we are aiming for here. AK already have some high-end inks. What we are aiming for here is an alternative or like an additional product for our contrast painting style. And I think so far, the drop bottles are a good solution for that. So let's talk about the price and the availability. So price-wise, we all know the big brands. Most of them are pretty expensive, especially the biggest brand is very expensive, but they're also very high-end. I tested a lot of contrast alternatives. So far, I haven't found one that are as good as the contrast paint from Citadel, for example. After testing this, I'm not so sure anymore. So why is the price so relevant? Obviously, as a professional miniature painter, but also as a hobbyist, you don't have unlimited money for paint and for supplies. So I'm always going for brands what I see is the best value for my money. So before we go into pricing of that product, which is very interesting for most of you, let's talk about the availability. Like you maybe know, some companies are more dominant on the market than others. So it is not so easy to get all the brands all the time. So as far as I experience with AK, they have a very good online store. So normally everything is available and very easy shipped. Of course, you can also buy it in my online store, but that's up to you, I guess. So for availability, yes, this is not, for example, GW, but as much as I see it on the market at the moment, Europe-wise, but also in the US, it is very easy to get. So let's talk prices. At the time where I do that video, it is not 100% sure. Or let's say I'm not 100% allowed to talk about it. But price-wise, this will be approximately half the price of a contrast paint. That leads me to a very big question. So is the Citadel contrast paint worth double the price of the new AK Quick Paint? I think to answer that specific question, we really need to dig deep and go for the first testings. So let's talk about the testing procedure. For me personally, with contrast paints, the biggest issue was always the biggest surfaces. It looks a little bit like watercolor. I don't like that. I'm really a fan of like opaque surfaces. But for that specific test, I think I can let go of that philosophy and dig into kind of a new technique. But of course, I don't want to have it too easy. So for example, you can go for a very high textured model. Of course, the quick paint or contrast paint, speed paint will look amazing on them because that's specifically what they're built for. But obviously, there are people who have armies like Space Marines. And in my opinion, by side of like vehicles, Space Marines are really tough with contrast paints. So I thought I'd dig into that testing phase because when I like it on a Space Marine, you might like it on your Space Marine or even on more easier models. So for this little video, I tested on 40 Space Marines to show the variety of the colors. Obviously, I have not tested all the colors yet, but I think 40 colors, including the metal ones, that surprised me the most, to be honest, is a nice overview on the palette. So let's talk about the specs of that test. First of all, I'm not paid to make that review for AK. In my opinion, it's a nice new product. I will use it probably for a lot of things, but I want to stay neutral and give you a nice overview on how I use it and how you should use it probably. I used all of those paints without any additive. So no water, no medium, no nothing. I want to have it very easy for you, so I also have not used any kind of wet palette. I used basic brushes, very cheap ones. I used it right out of the bottle. The only thing, shake it well, but this is a must for every new paint. I haven't had the time to see if they are kind of like set down the pigments. As much as I know, after like 1 or 2 days, they're really fine without like an additional crazy shaking. So shake them well after you get them, and then they seem to be very fine. Also, like the third generation paint of AK, they're not really separating a lot. All the Space Marines were primed black. After that, with white. I would say it's a coverage of like 90% of the model, but I really like to have all that folds and residues black, so I have a little bit of a help with the shading at the... Of course, what you can do as well is to have a zenithal priming, which means you kind of like cover 50%, or let's say just the upper parts of that model. So you have a black priming and then a white priming. I think on the internet you will find very good tutorials about that. Basically, it's like imitating the light on the model. I don't do that at the moment. It's not really my style that I like to paint at the moment, but you can do it obviously, and it will give you a nice and interesting look at the end of the quick paint. But now let's go into the painting. Here you see all the Marines nicely primed. We primed it with airbrush, but it's basically because it was super cold outside and windy. As you can see, I got the 72 set. Very nice. Here you can see my super advanced wet palette, which was not a wet palette, just some random plastic. And here we go. Cheap brush, absolutely unmodified quick paint to get the perfect result for the test. And I also switched the brushes to, this is the flat AK brush, and most questions I get about painting yellow. So this is what you see here. They have a big variety of yellow, so they don't come with like one prime yellow, they come with several yellows, which I appreciate a lot because yellow can be a little bit tricky, as you might know. I really liked it. As you can see, it is a very nice finish. I think that's a big plus. It is really worth it. But now we come to a paint that I really liked at the first place, but not at the drying. So this is human flesh. Looks very, very vibrant, but it dries out patchy. What leads me to the big idea of probably it's meant to be on human flesh and not on big plate armor like a Space Marine. I recommend not use it on big surfaces. It is very nice on skin tones, little faces and everything. That works perfectly. I will show you at the end of the video. Then we are coming to more vibrant colors like green, blues. They have several. And an additional plus, as you can maybe see on the bottle, they come in different intensities. This is not normal, let's say. They come in 3 different intensities, so you can really choose and also see before you buy the paint, is that a very opaque look or a very intense look, or is it super soft? And I think that is one of the biggest plus of them, because they have a massive variety of paint, like ish, and I don't want to test them all. I mean, I tested them all for you, but I don't want to test them all to then see which is the right color, what is the right paint for my miniatures. I like to see, oh, this is an intense color, this is a medium color, or more like a soft color. For example, with the white tones, I really like the white shades, and I also like the very vibrant shades. I'm not the biggest fan of the medium intensity colors, but they might be very nice for the contrast approach, like adding additional highlights, or maybe use it as a glaze. This is also worth a video, I guess. Here you see more like soft colors, and I let you enjoy the process of painting several Space Marines, and we will see. I need to make a break at that point, because now something very special is coming, something I really like to know about, and these are the metal paints. So of course there are a lot of metal paints on the market. There are also, as far as I know, some contrast-like metal paints, but I never found something on the market that satisfied me as much as those. And I hope you really see how nice they are on the video. I tried to zoom in a little bit so you can really see the consistency and the brightness and the richness, and it is just so nice to paint with them. Again, this is not a paid advertise. I really like them. So I really also hope you like them. And there we go. We start with old gold. And as you can see, this is so smooth and so kind of special vibrant. It almost has like a little bit of a reddish tone in the very shadows. And it really goes in all the residues. It is very smooth. The consistency is very special in my opinion. It is almost like silky and it's very easy on the model. And now we come to one of the metals I will absolutely use like always. And this is dark steel. This is almost a black metal. I just know that from very back in the day with scale 75 black metal. Actually, it's called black metal. And you can see what I mean. I mean, it's very, very nice, and therefore I can really not recommend it enough. And after that, you can see the very difference to the soft paint. It is a very chill look, and then you have the medium and high quality, not high quality, that's bullshit, the medium and high opacity and high intensity paint that I also really like. They just have a different use. This was a little presentation about the quick paint. As you can see, they come in different varieties. They come in soft, medium, and intense. So they are really made for a lot of people. I think they are working nice. Again, they are probably working the best on textured model. But it is a nice test to see how good they are on Space Marine Primaris. And I think, and I hope you appreciate the little overview on the paints. But now, of course, I'm a painter, I need to finish something. So I decided to make a very short cut of me painting a 3D printed miniature from Hero Forge in a very quick way, in like 20 minutes, and show you the variety that those paints can deliver, but also I will show you that I can work a little bit further to make a decent board gamey style miniature that is not too sophisticated and everybody can probably do. And I hope you really enjoyed. I enjoyed it. And I think this is something very versatile, so everybody can probably use it for something. You could also see in the video then how I play something. I work with highlights on the model, so there is no reactivation that we know from previous brands. I think you can really see how easy they are, how nice they work. You don't need fancy equipment, just paint, have. And there we go. We have a Hero Forge model, 3D printed, primed in white. A little bit of black is still there, so it's kind of a senatorial way, but very, very bright and very white. Here you can see the paint I used. I used just a variety. The customer wanted some blue tones and some brown tones. He asked for a nice and quick result, so I thought that is a nice opportunity to take. And as you can see, I started with the base coats, and after the base coats were dry, I really went for some highlights. I also tried to mix them, so I mixed the quick paint with the third generation paint to see if I can also highlight with the same tone. And as you can see here, it is absolutely amazing. It gives you a perfect consistency, so I didn't even use a lot of water, almost nothing. And then I put some easy highlights on the very higher parts. This should not be like a tutorial how to paint. I just want to show you that I painted with that paint, with the quick paint of AK, mix them with the third generation paint. They have color matching paints, or at least like very nicely matching paints. And then I really highlighted the model all the way. I also used the quick generation paint as kind of a glaze, especially in the metals. This is working very, very good. So you can see the metal pigments through, even if it's quick paint metal. You can then go over it with like a softer tone, as you can see here, and it's still metal. I can tell you, I will use that a lot. Doesn't matter if it's for easy Hero Forge models or for a Golden Demon entry. This glazes or this quick paint will be my new glazes. I can guarantee you that. And also, we haven't talked about it, but most of it dried very matte, and I think that's also a big plus. Not all of them, they'll have a little variety in that, but none of them, and that's very important, is very glossy. And as you can see here, I used the third generation paint as highlights, as shades, kind of like to assist the quick paint in every direction. Doesn't matter if it's darker, lighter, to touch up, everything can be done with that range. In my opinion, that's an absolutely crazy range. And as you can maybe see here, I used the DaVinci Micron synthetic brush for the highlights. This is a personal preference. I normally use the Maestro brushes, the natural hair brushes, but you can see the result here. Again, this was a little presentation, 20 minutes, quick paint, some little highlights, some little washes, and I think that is a nicely painted Hero Forge model. Very cool approach, really liked it, really liked the tones, and I also hope you like it and can use it for your miniatures. So let's make a little breakdown of the pros and cons. For me, the biggest pro is the price and the value you get. You get a very nice product for half the price of the current contrast paints. Which should not mean that you should save your money, that you should be cheap on some essential items. That's not the point. The point is that I don't see the difference of a contrast paint in comparison to a quick paint. I would say I see the quick paint almost the same quality as the contrast paint, and I also, and this is the most important part, I see the same usability of it. So in my opinion, you can use it for the exact same things. You can use it for airbrushing as well. I tried that. Maybe I do a video for my Instagram. So probably you will see there some videos of the new quick paints. And so bottom line, you get probably the same product, half the price, a very nice color range, to be honest. So you have like almost 80 or 80-ish paints. And also a big pro for me is the packaging. I like the dropper bottles. A lot of people don't like it. I get it. It's way easier to put it out of the little pots. But for me, I always spill them. You might know it from all the memes, but I really do that. So for me, it's like when I drop a pot of contrast paints, that's easy, like €5 that you lose on that point. And I don't like that. And I also think that they dry out a little bit quicker than the bottles. Of course, you cannot get all of that 18 mil out of both containers. A little bit better probably on the pots. So this is a little con. You will have a little bit more of a hard time to get all of that product out of that pots, but you can also like take off the lid. What could also be a little con, but this is really up to AK and also to the small retailers out there. AK is not as easy to get like the GW brand, for example. That's the big plus for GW, and a little con on the AK side. It is not so easy to get. You cannot go in every Warhammer store or in every city. Probably all the big cities now have Warhammer stores, which I really appreciate because that makes our hobby so much bigger. So shout out to Warhammer in that case. But I would really see that as a little con. You cannot get it on every corner. So maybe AK try to reach out to small retailers and spread your absolutely nice product. I don't have a lot of cons, to be honest. This is not a big list. Availability is probably one of the only things, and that's probably it. I'm sorry I cannot make like a rant video about the product. It is a good product. So pros and cons are there, and I really hope you liked that video. I will do some more. Leave me a comment, follow me on Instagram, or obviously on YouTube and TikTok. I will do a lot of small TikTok videos as well. I really like that small format, but I also tried my best to make better videos. Don't be too harsh on me. I'm not a video producer, but I think this video can help a lot of people, and I wish you a very nice day and hope to see you soon.